Hey everyone, hope all of y'all are having a blessed day. It's pretty windy today, but still wanted to shoot a nice video that maybe y'all can get some insight out of. So I made this nice Tallahatta pickwick yesterday, and I had many people comment and ask, how did you make it? How did you keep it so thin? So I wanted to take you through it step by step. I have 5 steps that I want to talk about today. I want to hopefully have a shorter video, but 5 steps I want to talk about to reduce a piece like this in its raw state into a piece like this. So the first thing you have to do to make a really long thin point is you have to remove unwanted material. So if we take this ball for example, we got a little hinge here that's not a problem, and we do have some Quartzite here and kind of a high ridge right here. Now we want to keep our length, but don't be afraid to set up a platform where there's a good ridge. Okay. Make sure that with Tallahatta you abrade quite well. Now I don't expect this to go all the way down because yes, it is Tallahatta, but we'll see what happens. And it did, surprisingly. Big long flake, make a waller knife out of it. All right, so we removed some unwanted material just for one strike. Now we have to start looking at our center line and start looking, okay, I can remove some off here, but I do need to lower my platform, because if I was to strike, well, let's put it this way. If I was to strike right here, right now, there's a dip, and it wouldn't be able to undercut all of this over here. So what I have to do is start abrading that edge down, okay? And now it's more rounded. And then, once I come back and abrade straight down, I'm able to have kind of some convexity, and I should be able to drive that off. Now, since I do have the liberty of having 2 sides, and I'm not limited to one, I'm going to abrade this side up just a tad and then drive the big flake across. So removing unwanted material. In this case, there's a big portion right here, and this Quartzite will eventually come off in time. Okay. And I know the wind is just howling right now. This is a large grit abrader. I would definitely suggest getting that, especially for Tallahatta. Okay. Now we got a big platform here that I haven't set up yet, but we're gonna shoot some from this side first. All right. And it's set up so good it overshot. With Tallahatta, that's kind of rare. But hey, we'll take it when we can get it. Now I could go ahead and shoot one here, and it'd probably hold up. But the good thing, or what we need to know or understand about some of these platforms, is that when you make a large strike here, these areas are pretty weak, and so almost no matter what, I'm gonna go ahead and hit them off. That way, there's not gonna be any cracks coming up. There's no issues, no problems. And now I can set up my next strike very easily. My camera's shaking. All right. Okay, there we go again. Kind of clean up that edge. All right, now we got this side that we already set up. We'll hit it in. Driving straight in. Straight in, okay? will come a time where your platform's a little too low, and so I braided real greatly down, and that kind of removed some of that excess area there. And now you see that we're starting to remove a lot of the unwanted material. The second thing we have to understand when we want a big, large, thin piece is that we have to understand our material. And that may seem pretty obvious, and honestly it kind of is. But with Tallahatta, you really have to set your platforms up greatly, very strongly. You have to really predict where that flake is going. You can't just hit it because it's going to hinge out in 40 different areas. So understanding your stone is really important. If you have a stone that's, from Texas, or particularly from Texas, where most of the stone is very easy to work, easy to nap, you don't have to grind this hard, to set up a platform. In fact, most of the time you don't really have to grind much at all, and you can use a smaller abrader, kind of like this. So for Tallahatta, you use a larger abrader. You understand that platforms have to be really, really set up. You can't just kind of half butt it and see how it goes. You really gotta pay attention to where you're hitting, where it's going, what you're trying to do. Right now, what I'm trying to do is make this side a little bit more flat because there is that big ridge. I could take another one up here, but I'm not losing my length. So removing here, then shooting back this way. And I actually pushed in this, or I don't know how to, almost that way when I drove that flake. Again, abrading pretty much every chance I get. Okay. And when my lines start to meet up, that's when I can start taking flakes off the other side, off this face now. So again, gonna braid. Understanding your stone. Every stone's a little bit different. This is some Alabama Coastal that I heated up to about 650, and I was able to make this nice Clovis out of it. But this material is much different than Tallahatta. It flakes differently. Its properties are different. I could probably hit straight into this Cortex here, no problem, because it's got plenty of heat. While on this, hitting into the Cortex will probably ruin me, and I'll never be able to make a decent point. So understanding your stone is really key. Got a good platform here. I'll get that from the other side. Still got a good platform here. Still got a good one here. Now we're getting somewhere. The fourth thing that's really important to get large, thin, biphase preforms points is something I call sequential flaking. Basically, flaking that follows a pattern, flaking that's in a row. Some people call it isolating platforms, but when I use that word, a lot of times it's most people think, oh, that takes a lot of work, this, that, and the other. Sometimes it does. Most of the time it does not. In this case, I've removed some flakes here, here, and here. And that way it's given me a ridge, a ridge, and a ridge. And now there's some low spots. And so I'm just continuing that pattern down throughout the end of the point. So here we go. We got a big flake here. Actually, I'm going to remove this first towards the tip. Okay, kind of shattered on me. It's okay. Okay, and then there. Clean up the edges a little bit. And now all of these on this face here are in a row. Does that make sense? Sequential flaking. So there comes a point where instead of just taking a random flake, oh, that one looks good, and here, which I probably will take that flake anyways, there comes a point where you can start taking off in a row, and that leaves you with good platforms that you can continue to use as you dwindle down your point. I'll show you an example here in a minute. Alright, now here's a good example of flakes in a row. Now, I could spend another 10 minutes isolating every little platform and doing what I need to do. I think this will be fine though for right now. Again, Tallahatta is so iffy. Another way to isolate platforms is to, well, isolate them, but instead of driving straight down next to your platform, drive kind of back towards this way. And that way you leave yourself a good platform to continue to hit. I think I learned that from Paleo Man Jim, I'm pretty sure. All right. Be a good flake if it comes off. If not, won't be a good flake. All right, it did come off. Okay. Now you see kind of what it left behind. I'll take a smaller billet. See how it just crumbled right there? That's why you want to go ahead and get rid of those secondary deltas. Go ahead and do that. Then you can work up your next platform if it needs working up. Grind, grind, grind. Grind, grind, grind. All right, I'm gonna start from the tip here and work my way in. Just like that. It's what we call sequential flaking, or at least that's what I call it. Flaking to get a pattern in order for you the next time to go through to follow those same ridges on this side. My fourth tip is practice on larger pieces. And I know sometimes you can't really find, it's hard to find large pieces to always work because you don't want to ruin the material. Well, there's no other way to learn unless you practice on it. You know what I mean? I was lucky where I worked on Alabama Coastal, whole bunch of tough stuff behind me. All that's pretty rough, pretty tough stuff. And you know, that's what I worked on whenever I started, and I was able to finally biface them out. And you know, all that to say, if you start working on real small pieces, you know, let's say like this, which isn't too small of a piece, then that's all you're gonna get good at. If you want to get better at bigger pieces, you have to practice on them. And I truly believe that when you practice on bigger material, it helps you whenever you start to work on the smaller material. And my fifth and last tip to make big, thin pieces is to simply be patient. Just be patient with the rock. Sometimes you can force it to do what you want it to. Sometimes you can't. In this instance, I removed some flakes on this side, as you just saw. And now there's a little bit of room where I can meet some of those hinges from here. And I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna let the rock tell me what it wants to do. I could hit here, but it's not built up. It's kind of flat right here. So I'll just raise down. And the rock's telling me that that's a good platform. It's speaking to me. Hey, Jake, that's a good platform. I'm kind of hitting in and towards me to kind of pull the flake. Okay. Saw that removed. Again, clean up your area. Okay. Now I got a good platform here, slightly below center line. There's a small hinge here, and hopefully it'll meet it. It should. And it did. It made another small hinge, but we can catch that from this side. There's quite a good platform that I could set up right here. Again, be patient with the rock. I could take another one here, but and I might do something slightly. But now I just need to go ahead and bevel this to remove and make this flatter here in this area. That way I can come back and just remove just a whole bunch of flakes on this side. That's sequential flaking. As you can see, this side's a little bit thinner on the bottom face. This side's a little bit thicker. However, all of this is thin. So I want to get rid of this. Then we can bevel it, come back and shoot these other sides. So just be patient with the rock. Do what it wants you to do, not what you want to force it to do. Real simple, but I think it helps. All right, and with that, I'm gonna wrap my video up. Hopefully it's been beneficial. I know I could keep going, but I got it pretty decently thin, so I think this will be okay. And you can tell that that point still is in there, and we went from a big spall to something that can be made into quite a nice point. So hopefully that's been a help to you. If you have any other comments or something that you would like to suggest me to make a video on, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do so. Thanks, guys. Take care.